أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين أحسنتم ما شاء الله جزاكم الله خير. طيب, moving on, of course, in the last session we covered the isti'adha, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, the basmala. We covered the first verse of Surah Al-Fatihah, Alhamdulilāh Rabbil Alameen. Today we will be focusing on the next couple of verses, inshaAllah, and going over the common mistakes. طيب, let's start with Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. The first thing that I want to mention here is when we start off with this verse, we have the letter Alif, then we have the letter Ra. Good. طيب. Last week we mentioned, I give us simple advice. Again, it's a very generic advice. That if it's a heavy letter, then we're making our mouth into an oval shape. If it's a light letter, what do? We're smiling. Okay. Now I'm going to say the letter, yeah? Is it heavy or is it light? Good. Ra. Heavy or light? Okay. Now try to say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. MashaAllah. Easy. He fixed it without me even taking the mistake out. The common mistake that everyone makes when they're saying this part is what? Try it. There you go. Yeah. People say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Type, take it with a Ra. Is there such thing as A? We just clarified, right? There's only A. There's no such thing as A, right? So can we say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim? So the Alif stays how it is. Ra is what we change. So watch. Ar-Rah. Yeah, watch. Ar-Rah. Yeah, this is mouth movement. It's very important. Then we have the letter Ha, and the letter Ha is from the middle of the throat, which you will be learning inshallah in the next lesson, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. But Ha is a light letter, right? And it is a letter of emphasis when it has a sakin on. When we stop on it, right, we don't say it like this. Naturally what happens is because Ra is heavy, people will make the Ha heavy as well. They say Ar-Rahma, Ar-Rah. Is that right? How should it be? You correct it. Khalas, mashallah. You guys are picking it up, right? You're seeing the mistake. This is why it's very important when you break things down, you'll be like, actually, yeah. These are common mistakes, right? Watch. Ar-Rah. You have to stretch it back. Ar-Rah. Good. Then we have the Ma, which is fine. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. The next thing is the Noon here, okay? When we're joining with the next Ra, okay, what happens is we do something known as Imala, which we talked about in the last session. It is when you're making a sound not between a Fatha or a Kasra, in between. So instead of saying E, you're saying right? Something in between, right? This is an example. So when sometimes people are reciting, they'll be like, Ar-Rahmanir, no, how should it be? Ni, huh? Ar-Rahmani, ni. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Okay? Jayyid, mashallah. Very good. طيب. When we're finishing off the ayah, we mentioned something very important, is if we want to clarify and not read from the nasal, then we go up, mashallah. We don't go down, right? Don't lower your voice, otherwise you're going to end up reading from the nose. Okay, so these are the common mistakes from Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Again, I will allow everyone to recite after we go over all of the common mistakes. The next verse that we have is Maliki Yawmiddin. As you can see, there's 3 words here, right? So we've got the first word, which is Maliki. It's 1 word, not 2 words, yeah? Not Maliki, no, Maliki, 1 word, okay? When we're saying it again, the same thing. This imala concept applies everywhere. Whenever you got a kasra, make sure that you're doing it properly. Don't say Maliki, no, Maliki, Maliki, smiling and saying it, right? Tajweed is an exercise of the mouth. I remember after my first lesson with my Shaykh in Egypt, I came out, my mouth was hurting, right? It was hurting. But after a couple of lessons, you get used to it, right? So it's practice, inshallah. Practice makes perfect. So we've got the first word, Maliki, right? Make sure the kasras are right. When you're joining onto the ya, don't stop. Don't make kaf into a sakin. Don't say Maliki yaw, no, Maliki yawm. You see, there's a kasra on the kaf, right? The word yawm, a lot of people, what's the mistake that they make when they say yawm? They say Y-O-W. Yawmiddin. But it's not like that. It's A-W, isn't it? In English, it's A-W and not O-W, right? To simplify. So you don't say Yawmiddin, Maliki yaw, where you're stretching your mouth and you're bringing it in. So that's very important. After that, the last thing that I want to mention is when you're joining the meme with the dal. Dal is more closer to the letter D than it is closer to the letter T. Did you understand that, yeah? We don't have this letter in English, but I'm giving you the closest thing. It's more closer to the letter D than it is to the letter T. Because if you're stopping on it like this, Maliki Yawmiddin, what's going to happen? You're going to say teen. What does teen mean? What teeni was zaytun? What is it? Fig. Excellent. Very good. Right? Okay? So that's what it is. But what does deen mean? It can mean religion or it can mean debt, right? So 1 letter makes a big difference. So when we're doing it, we have to ensure that we're getting closer to the letter D, right? Maliki yawmid, not t. Maliki yawmiddin. And then the noon at the end, what we mentioned in the first verse of Surah Al-Fatihah, right, is that you have to pronounce the noon. What happens? What do people do? Maliki yawmiddin. We didn't even hear the noon. Maliki yawmiddin. I'm holding on to the noon at the end, okay? It's a little difference, okay? طيب. Moving on, inshallah. We've got 2 more verses, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. طيب. Here we've got 4 words. 2 of these words are the same. The iyaka. Common mistake people make on the word iyaka. By the way, these mistakes I'm taking out. Don't think that I'm judging anyone. I made these same mistakes. Right? So we're all here to learn, inshallah. And I probably still do make these mistakes. But we're all here to learn, inshallah. طيب. We've got the first word iyaka. 2 mistakes. First is when a person starts it off, again they do this imala. Iyaka. No. E and not A. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is the ya, okay. Sometimes you'll hear this vibration sound if you hold onto it too much. Watch. Let's see who can hear it. Iyaka. Watch. Iyaka. Under my tongue you can hear this zzz sound, right? That sound can't be there. This vibrating sound. We have to clarify it by watch. Watch the difference. This is a common mistake. Iyaka. And this is how it should be recited. Iyaka. Can you see? There's a difference. The first one, there was a vibration. So we can't make that vibrating sound. Okay? Right? The vibrating sound, if it comes out, that means there is some khalal, there is some deficiency in reciting that iya. Okay? طيب. Iyaka is done. Na'budu. Na'budu, all of these letters are light. Right? So smile away. It's sunnah. Right? Iyaka na'budu. not na'budu, right? If you bring it in, you're going to make the same mistake that you make on the first verse. Alhamdu, no. Alhamdu, na'budu, right? Smile. Iyyaka na'budu, okay? Wa iyyaka, again, same thing. Nasta'in, we're going to move on to this last word here. Here, we find that there's a letter sin. And sin is a very easy letter because we have it in the English language, right? What's the English equivalent? S, right? Simple as. But we have the letter after, which is a letter ta, and this is where people struggle. For some reason, we always hear people say nasta'in. But ta is a light letter. You have to smile. That's the first thing. Second thing, ta is not the letter T. It's very important because sometimes we try to find the English equivalent, the actual English equivalent, and we think it's okay to recite like that. No. Ta is not the letter T. T, we're using the tip of our tongue. Ta, we're not using the tip of our tongue. We're using the flat part of our tongue. You see the difference, yeah? So if someone wants to say nasta'in, that's wrong. Ta, flat. The tongue has to be flat. Nasta'in. Okay? طيب. Moving on, the last verse, and then I'll allow everyone to recite, inshallah, is the verse Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Alright, it's a hard verse. So inshallah, we'll take a few minutes on this. Bismillah. The first thing that we have, again, the same concept of not ihdina. Ihdina. That's the first thing. Second, do not emphasize the ha too much. Because ha is from where? The middle of the throat. But we have another similar letter, which is the letter ha. And that's from where? This ha is from the bottom of the throat, and big ha is from the middle of the throat, right? You have to make sure that you don't emphasize too much because you'll end up with a big ha, right? So you say it like this, Ihdina, okay? When we're joining the noon and the sad, this again, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to find out what the common mistake is. Before we said Ar-Rahman, the common mistake was what? The alif people make heavy. Here it's the opposite. Let's see who can figure out. What's the mistake? Joining with the Ihdina and the sad. What's the mistake? There you go. He's got it. Okay. So what happens is people say Ihdinos. Okay, take away the sad. Is there such a thing as no? What is it? Nah, khalas. You've got the answer, right? So the noon stays how it is. Don't change the noon. It's the sad that's supposed to be heavy. Ihdina sira, not ihdinos sira. That's a mistake, okay? Sad now. When it comes to the sad, these letters we're going to be practicing about breaking it down. But sad, da, ta, va, these letters do not add a W. We mentioned this before, right? So do not say swira, do not move the bottom lip. Keep it oval shape without moving the bottom lip. Watch. Ihdina swi, and not swi. Then you're adding a what? An extra letter. طيب. When we've done the ra, we've moved on from the sad and we've got the ra and ta. Both ra and ta are heavy letters. What happens is generally when people start to recite this verse, they start to move from heavy to low, from light. Watch this. Ihdina siratal, and then start moving on. No, keep it heavy. Ihdina sirata. What's the letter that's going to be light? The lam. So what's the common mistake people make here? Good, excellent. They're making the lam heavy. Because why? Tajweed is all about quick transition. Quick transition. If you don't do it quick enough, what's going to happen? You're going to end up pronouncing it wrong. Just for example, the example that I give, Ihdinas sirat. No such thing. Same with the ta and the lam. There's no such thing as tal. Lam is light. And finishing it off, we have the word mustaqim. All of these letters here are in its light form. Mustaqim. I'm smiling all the way. Give that big smile, yeah? Right? So if we join this whole verse together, watch. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. That's how you're supposed to recite. With that being said, Alhamdulillah, we covered all of the verses which we have scheduled for. And now we're going to open up, inshallah, so the brothers can recite, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Yeah. So when it comes to the letter Qaf, which we will be covering, Qaf generally is a heavy letter. But when it has a kasra, it's given the least amount of emphasis. Do you understand? So we do not say mustaqim. What do we say? Mustaqim. And we don't go too low because we can end up with a kaf, right? So certain letters, they are still counted as heavy letters, but they have darajat. They have levels. And the lowest of levels is when it has a kasra. Okay? طيب.